Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Ghana Tonight. We are coming to you live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kanda in Accra. Tonight, Chairman Wontumi spends another night in custody and perhaps may end up spending the entire weekend after a failed attempt by the New Patriotic Party's bigwigs, including the former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to secure his release earlier this evening. Did not go according to plan. We'll have a deeper conversation about this. But moments before we came into the studio, we have new information coming in that Chairman Wontumi has actually now met his bail conditions and just may, be going home. We have updates of that for you in a moment. We'll hear from his lawyer. Also coming up in the bulletin, we stay on the issue of drug abuse among the youth as exposed in Godwin Asedibe's latest documentary, Hooked on Red, exploring the psychiatric dynamics and how that can help in the fight against opioids. And later, we'll take a look at what has been a week of demolitions at the Sakumona Ramsar site in an attempt to reclaim what was supposed to be a protected area. But will this solve the problem of people building where they are not supposed to be building? This and more on the show for the next 1 hour. We are live and active and would be happy to hear from you. It's an interactive show, so do make your thoughts heard on our various social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Just look for Ghana Tonight and then be part of the show. Also, when you send us a message, use the hashtag Ghana Tonight and we'll share your thoughts with the rest of the world. So those are the three topical issues we are discussing today, but many other things happened in Ghana the entire day. So here are the key briefs for you in Ghana Briefs.
Supporters of the New Patriotic Party (NPP) Friday evening besieged the head office of the National Intelligence Bureau (NIB) in Accra, where embattled Ashanti Regional NPP Chairman Bernard Ntwibuesiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, is currently held. Some senior members of the party, including former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and members of Parliament, were there. Dr. Bawumia addressed the gathering after a failed attempt to secure his release.
Chairman Wontumi's bail, 50 million Ghana cedis, is very onerous. I don't know how many people in Ghana can have property with 50 million Ghana cedis. And I believe that this was just set to prevent his timely release. We are going to follow the due process, the legal process, to make sure that he's released as soon as possible. I want to plead with all of you to remain calm as we work behind the scenes to make sure that he is out.
Member of Parliament for Old Tafo Vincent Ekowasifwa says the continuous detention of the NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Ntwibuesiako aka Chairman Wontumi is an affront to the rule of law and a dent of Ghana's international image. He has also questioned the President's silence on the development.
The international community is watching. We've been able to, as it were, raise our democracy to a point that if you want to charge someone, go ahead and charge the person. Prosecute the person. Nobody is saying that don't prosecute. Prosecute. We will support you, especially if people who have indeed stolen from the state. But the fact that you think or you suspect that somebody has stolen from the state does not mean that you should incarcerate the person, you should persecute the person instead of prosecution.
The Accra High Court has threatened to dissolve the jury hearing the Gregory Afuku murder retrial if the Attorney General is unable to reach a decision on how it will proceed with the case by the next adjourned date. Afuku was accused of conspiring with Asapke Alangdi to murder former NPP Yapa East Regional Chairman Adams Mahama. Speaking to TV3 after the proceedings, Gregory Afuku reiterated his innocence.
I didn't commit any crime. I knew deep down in my heart I haven't committed any crime. But these people keep on changing the goalposts from one place to the other. How can you try one case, same charges, for 10 years? I took the case to another court, and then they were restarting the whole thing. Look, they have punished my own party people, have punished me all this year, but I thank them very much.
The first Deputy Minority Whip and Member of Parliament for Tolon, Habib Idrisu, has asked President Mahama to fulfill his promise by giving the Muslim community 2 more holidays in the Eid al-Adha celebration. He was speaking on the floor of Parliament.
The President had promised 2 days holiday for Eid. In Eid al-Fitr, he gave the 2 days. Eid al-Adha, which the Interior Minister said 6th June is a holiday for Eid al-Adha. And it is not one day that the President promised. He said Eid, and we have 2 Eid. We have Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. So I don't know why you do one and you not give the others.
Former President John Agyekum Kufuor has endorsed the initiative National Day of Prayers and Thanksgiving. During a visit by the Planning Committee, the former president emphasized the need for inclusive governance and called for laws that promote unity and respect for all, regardless of background. He also commended President John Dramani Mahama for instituting the day.
We are party, we are tribe, so my man will be
our laws should be enlightened and should treat each and everyone fairly.
So let's go to the meat of our big story for this evening. And you'll recall that around 4 p.m. earlier today, there was a lot of action at the premises of the National Investigations Bureau, the NIB, because leadership of the New Patriotic Party marched up there in an attempt to see Chairman Wontumi, who is the Ashanti Regional Chair of the New Patriotic Party. They had gathered information that he had been moved from the offices of Yoko to the National Investigation Bureau head office. And we're also told that the former vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was expected there to try to see Chairman Wontumi himself. Leadership of the minority side also was at the premises, but at the end of the day, they did not succeed in seeing him. They came out and spoke to the media. I will bring some of the specifics they spoke about to you. But the latest twist in the tale of what has been happening to Chairman Wontumi is that his lawyer, in the person of Andy Appiah-Kubi, has been speaking this evening, talking about the fact that they've met the bail conditions. He's joined us on phone for a quick chat. Mr. Appiah-Kubi, thank you for your time. Good evening to you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Right, so have you been able to see your client today? How is he faring and where specifically is he? Do you know?
Yes, I met him in the afternoon. And he's feeling very well. And he's still in the hospital where he has been since, because he's still recovering from some ailments. Actually, some.
If you can kindly speak up for me so I can hear you clearly. Pardon that we called you this late, but kindly raise your voice.
He's well, and he's still in the hospital where he's receiving treatment.
He's at the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. So is it
he's
that...
not too well. We noticed from last week. He's still recovering from some ailment.
Okay. So could it be that he was moved from Iyoko offices to NIB, as we were told earlier, and now at the hospital, or he's been at the hospital all this while?
Indeed, we have made arrangements for to visit, and because of the picketing at the Iyoko office, we agreed to meet at NIB office, where we had prepared the conference room for the meeting. Unfortunately, when we got to, we picked Wontumi from the hospital to the conference room of NIB. Unfortunately, when we got there, the crowd had also amassed at the NIB and making it difficult for us to have the meeting at the NIB. So it happened that we had to return to the hospital to get Wontumi and then postpone the meeting. So the meeting didn't come on. It is not because of anything, it's because of the picketing at the NIB is also. So we are now in a position where we have been able to secure the justification for the release of Wontumi. So we are ready to meet at the office of the OAC. So Iyoko, at the office of Iyoko, this evening to file the document. But when we all convened at Iyoko, we realized that there had been an application seeking to amend the conditions of bail. And the return date for that application is Tuesday. Indeed, I was surprised to see that application because I had not been informed of any person wanting to file an application on behalf of my client. So the pendency of this application did not allow us to continue with the negotiations of Demolition. So the return date for the application is Tuesday. So in the light of that, we had to postpone the meeting. So we are waiting for Monday so that hopefully if it is the work of my client and all interested parties will get the motion withdrawn for us to continue with the negotiation and the instruction of the property or eventual discharge of my client. So I can say that the reason we couldn't achieve our aim today was the fact that there has been an application that frustrates the conclusion of the negotiation.
Mr. Apiakubi, so because of the non-clarity in the audio from your voice, I would want to quickly summarize what you have said so we are sure that we are on the same page. So you have been able to secure the bail conditions of your client, Chairman Wontumi. However, there is another court case which is now going to prevent you from getting his release. Is that what you're saying?
There is an application before the court, one of the criminal courts, and this application is by another lawyer, and is seeking to amend the terms or conditions of the bail. And it has been said on both the attorney and Iyoko. So, the tendency of that application, we could not continue the discussion leading to the discharge of my client. And then I was not informed of the tendency of this application. And I am not part of this application. So, we consulted the client, and the client has forwarded a message to the lawyer who filed the application.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, we have actually cited that application, which you say that was on your blind side, so you didn't have knowledge of it. But if you are the lawyer, how come another group of lawyers or people who are also affiliated to the party would take this step without your notice? Do you know why?
I have not taken any instructions from the party. Indeed, I have taken instructions from General Wontumi. And therefore, I cannot speak to the fact that somebody is acting on the instructions of any other entity. So I'm going ahead with representing my client, and anything that I have to do to secure his release, that is what I'm doing.
Okay. Now, Mr. Piakubi, so what was the challenge you faced as lawyer for Chairman Wontumi that you couldn't meet the 50 million Ghana cedi with two sureties bail condition?
I have told you that we have been able to mobilize the sureties and the justification. Everything is ready now. And we have informed Yoko also of our readiness to come to file the justification for the inspection. And they were waiting. In fact, I need to also show gratitude to them because they waited up to 9 o'clock or thereabout for us to come to the office. And whilst we were there, they showed us this application that frustrated the meeting and discussion. So, Yoko was ready to receive our documents. And indeed, they promised to undertake the inspection within adequate time to be able to finish Yoko with the report tomorrow morning. Albeit is that because of this application, we could not finish with the negotiation and discussion.
So, per everything you've told us, you are confident that after the inspection by Yoko, hopefully tomorrow, latest by Monday, Tuesday, you are going to court on this new application by Gary Nimako and his chambers. Then it means that hopefully by middle of the week, your client is likely to go home. Is that the case?
What I'm saying is that we cannot proceed with our line of action in the pendency of this application. So once the application is taken or withdrawn, we will continue with the discussions.
Okay. What has your client made of the kind of support shown by not just the party, but even the former vice president and the leadership?
What? Come again, please. Come again.
I'm asking that, is he aware the kind of support that is on the outside from the party and also the, especially the former vice president and the leadership of the New Patriotic Party?
You are saying that, am I aware of the support?
No, is your client aware that people outside are, massing up, supporting him? Minority members in parliament actually even walk to the Yoko premises. Is he following all of these? Is he aware of it? And what does he make of it?
He is definitely aware. Indeed, when we came to NIB this afternoon, he saw the mob also there. So he is aware. And he has always been, every time we have brought him to the office of Yoko, he has seen people mass up in support. And he was also informed that Vice President wanted to pay, former Vice President wanted to pay discipline. So he's aware. And he shows appreciation to that.
And so on the back of that, would you say that now that things seem to be falling in place and aligning, party supporters should not mass up again, at the Yoko premise or maybe NIB?
Everybody who wants to demonstrate against any decision or any action of anything of a state or in protest or against any breach of the law or breach of any part of his right has a right to demonstrate as guaranteed by the Constitution. So whoever is interested in joining the demonstration to express a concern is allowed under the law, and I have no reason to want to challenge people who want to express their disinterest or their interest in an action or inaction. So I will not speak against or for any such action. They have the right to demonstrate, and they will demonstrate peacefully, and that is very lawful. So that does not really also distract me from my core responsibility of ensuring that my client enjoys freedom or enjoys protection under the law. So I will not comment on the demonstration. I have not been engaged to do that or to participate in demonstration. I've been engaged to use legal means to promote his interest.
Mr. Andy Apiakobi, thank you so much for making time to speak to us this evening, and we wish you all the best. He is a former member of parliament and also the lawyer for Chairman Wontumi, who, according to Mr. Apiakobi, is in good condition. He's still at the hospital, and it's not that he's been moved without their notice. They are very much aware and have been following the movement or the actions of IOCO, and said that it was not on their blind side that Chairman Wontumi was moved from IOCO offices to the NIB. They actually went there with him because a meeting was scheduled. However, that meeting was cancelled because of how people had massed up there. So things changed, and they had to move back to the IOCO premises and to the hospital where he currently is still receiving treatment. All right, so that's the latest in the tale of what has been happening to Chairman Wontumi. Let's bring in some security perspectives on this. And joining us is Richard Kumado, who is a security consultant and a former NIB or BNI operative. Mr. Kumado, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Martin. Thank you.
Right, so I'm sure that you've also heard what the lawyer of Chairman Wontumi has just told us. But prior to what he said, the concern many had raised from the security angle is the handling of the suspect, in this case Chairman Wontumi, where, for instance, he was moved from one security institution to another. Based on your security operation knowledge, is that standard practice?
Definitely. If you remember, when we spoke earlier in the day, or even last night, I told Kamini that that was one of the options available to the investigators, considering the structure of IOCO in terms of the physical structure and where the office is and where it's located and many of those ones. The BNI structure and the way it is built up, it helps in ensuring that there's operational security and there's also a safety guarantee for the key suspect, which is Chairman Wontumi in this case. So I made that indication and I stressed the point that that is one of the options they have at their disposal, and they may move him to a particular location, and that is exactly what they did. What is important is that his lawyers are informed, his rights have not been abused, and it's in line with standard procedure. We've done this job over the years, and we are aware that the outcome of our operations or whatever we do could be scrutinized in the general public, or it can even be litigated in court. So some of these decisions are well calculated, well examined, and well planned. And I'm happy that I'm hearing from the lawyer in the first place. And you know, the lawyer is speaking truth. And that is also part of democracy, and it helps the prosecution process, or it helps the crime suspect, which in this case is our brother Wontumi. And I think that is the way to go, so that it doesn't look like law enforcement officers are situations is being created to create a little bit of hostile environment for them. So Martin, it is on, and I think both sides will need to work together to ensure that the bail terms are met and he goes back home.
I'm going to pick up from where you just landed, and many outside would have thought, just like you posited, that it looks as though the security agencies or operatives were working outside the boundaries of their remit. Because when you heard the lawyer, Mr. Appiah there, he sounded as though everything was procedural and nothing was untoward. But outside the premises of Yoko, outside the premises of NIB, people had a totally different perspective. As a security analyst, how do you see this playing out in terms of communication between how security operatives work and the knowledge or the information they need to give the public regarding their operations?
Marty, you have been my brother for over 10 years now, and your voice and my voice, those who watch TV3, can recognize that. Public education is what I do, and creating awareness is what I do. Offering the alternative source of reasoning is what I do, and bringing out the best practices when it comes to security operations and security intelligence. And I've always emphasized the case that political governance and security governance must always be at par. And one way of doing that is to create public awareness. And this is what we have done. The BNR, of course, will not hold a press conference and speak. But I think it's also the nature of the politics we run in this country, where it's characterized with some level of unproductiveness and some level of machoism. And that makes it very unpalatable sometimes. And they create a hostile environment for everybody. But when you understand how these institutions work, these are people who are well trained, Martin. I've heard about 6 expertise, and I'm even the least person when it comes to people who work within some of these places. You have doctors, you have lawyers, you have great professionals, you have people with all manner of backgrounds working within these places. And we have only one prerogative. 1, to safeguard this country. Number 2, to ensure that public safety and security assurances are achieved. And number 3, security intelligence effectiveness in terms of crime prevention. And it could happen to anybody. So sometimes I said that, allow this. I am a brother of the system, and by and large, I have done this job in terms of public education, largely for them, right from the days of President Kufuor, President Rawlings, to President Mills, to President Mahama, to President Akufo-Addo. Then we are in President Mahama again. So whatever you don't get from the BNI, or you don't get from the military, because there are no institutions that speak frequently, Richard Kumado brings it to fore. And I think we are not asking for credit, and we are not asking for any other thing. But I think our voice has become a little honored and credible voices that we can bring that education to the general public.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, thank you so much that you avail yourself to educate us and the public on security matters. Richard Kumado, security consultant, pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I'm grateful.
We are staying on the subject, and clearly, like you know, now there is a totally new angle to it, which is that Chairman Wontumi is fine and well, and unlike we had heard previously that his whereabouts was unknown, now we do know because his lawyer has confirmed where he is and that everything is well and good. Let's now bring in political analyst to help us understand whether or not this has been totally a politicized issue or still a regular Ghanaian who has been alleged to flout the law and is going through regular security checks to be sure that he stays within the remit. Jonathan Asante, doctor, has joined us. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. What do you make of the argument that we have thrown all of this out the window and politicized a situation that hitherto shouldn't be a political issue because security agencies are just doing their work?
Well, I would say it is a combination or a myriad of issues at stake now. We cannot discount the political aspect of it, but it is equally a matter of, legal prudence as well. So I will look at it from 2 perspectives. Both it has assumed a political dimension as well as that of legal. Now, the political dimension of the issue appears to be much more weightier than that of the legal. So what I see panning out is the fact that the opposition considers this particular brouhaha as more of a political banter than that of a legal banter.
And I mean, you mentioned two things there, that it's a legal issue as well as a political issue, but looking at the politics of it, is there any benefit at all for Chairman Wontumi, you think?
So you see, when it comes to the political phenomenon, what you see is that they throw to the dogs issues of legality. And what is more unfortunate is the fact that you have in the fold of the minority a lot more people who consider themselves as lawyers, who have legal, who have issues of legality within their fold. But you see, the problem that they are facing now is the fact that they are approaching the matter from a political perspective. Now, when you do so, then it means that should you have your way, that will mean that the system is not working. What I see, having considered all factors, is the fact that Mr. Wontumi has been denied the bail just because he could not satisfy the conditions of the bail. And once you have not been able to satisfy these conditions, then it becomes a legal, matter. And so I see a situation where if the minority or the opposition had their way with respect to the political pressure brought to bear on the security forces and that of the state institution called YOCO and now NIB, if they have secured the bail for Mr. Wontumi through that process, that would have meant that the issue is more political than legal. And that in itself would have also been a bad omen for the state institutions. This is not to suggest that if Mr. Wontumi is going through certain discomfiture, I'm happy. No, I'm not a sadist. But the point is that it ought to be proven beyond reasonable doubt that the system is working and that it does not have any political interference, just that they are doing their job. I'm of the view that you cannot go and steal 100 million Ghana cedis and expect the state institution or the law enforcers, whom you would have been in their fold, to ask for a bail condition worth 1 million Ghana cedis. It doesn't work anywhere. And so I seem to believe that, look, what the likes of the Deputy Attorney General said as issues, on money laundering, they are talking about international organized crime, they are talking about fraud, they are talking about causing financial loss to the state. All these will come, to inform the decision of the law enforcers to put the bail condition at 50 million Ghana cedis. They know the kinds of things the person allegedly, Mr. Wontumi, would have done. And that, for me, is what is influencing, motivating that particular idea of pegging the bail condition at that particular amount. What surprises me is the fact that we are talking about someone who could have who displayed gold in the open, someone who had intended to buy Chelsea in their billions of pounds, cannot in any way produce or find any means of surety to ensure that these things are provided as a way of security. Should it happen that something untoward should happen, then it means that they can fall on that so that the state is not shortchanged. So I am of the view that, look, at this point in time, we are dealing with a matter both as a political, phenomenon and that of the legal, stuff. So you cannot take away the politics out of that. And that's the reason why MPs who are in parliament dealing with issues that affect you and I will decide that an individual, a private citizen's issue that is having with the law enforcers or law enforcement, they will abandon what is happening in parliament to go for something of that sort. I think that is more or grossly irresponsible leadership provided by the minority. It is really grossly responsible because they are all related. If it were to be a matter of maybe a tax handle has been brought by executive, which you guys think that you don't subscribe to that, you can walk out. I will agree with that. Maybe we are talking of a certain bill that is an affront to the belief system or the political stance of the Dombo Dankwa Buzia. Why not? We can agree with that. They can walk out because they wouldn't want to take part. But not a situation where we are talking about an individual, a private individual who has been elected in that private capacity as being a regional chairman. I think that the constituent will have to call them to order because I think what they did is something that is not in sync with parliamentary dictate. I don't believe that that is the case.
All right, Dr. Jonathan Asante, thank you so much for your time this evening, for joining us on Ghana Tonight. He is a political analyst. You're still watching Ghana Tonight live from our studio here at TV3. We are also live on 3FM 92.7. So in case you're moving out of the house, you can still follow the conversation and discussions on 3FM 92.7. Right, coming up next on Ghana Tonight, we stay on the issue of drug abuse among the youth as exposed in Godwin Aseidu's latest documentary, Hooked on Red, where he sought to explore the psychiatric dynamics and how that can be of help to the many whose lives are being wasted due to the use of opioids. This and more in a jiffy. Stay with us. All right, so let's dig into it straight away. So, stark revelation of how many lives are being wasted in the quest for a high that truly never exists. That's the summary of the documentary Hooked on Red by Godwin Aseidu, whose expose on how young people are abusing these drugs has come to the fore. Let's bring you excerpts of that documentary and then we can subject it to some analysis.
Safia Azumi Faustina. Her body trembled under the influence of a drug she could barely name, and with vacant eyes, she offered herself for sex for as little as 20 Ghana cedis. We walked deep into the ghetto, far from where I found her, just so I could hear her story. Her eloquence struck me. Too sharp, too clear for someone so consumed. I wondered why.
My parents forever once never gave me to believe in second chance.
She could barely keep her balance. She had just taken a few tablets and the euphoria had taken hold.
Nothing. Because I could maybe bleed sometimes and it comes so hard. I deserve to take some pills and feel relieved. And I take pills most times. I would take injections too.
A mother of a 9-year-old boy, her moments of joy are fleeting. She has endured too much, and Red has only made it worse.
My kid is 9 years. I got operated of appendix.
You?
Yes, please. Before I give birth to my child. And I guess I'm fine. Sometimes I could take some tablets to just feel so hefty to work.
Not long ago, she collapsed hard. The jagged scar on her shoulder is a reminder of the price she's paid.
Yes, my mistake.
Well, so you can catch the full documentary. It's on our social media platforms, and you can also follow the conversation. But on Ghana Tonight this evening, we're looking at where all of this stems from. Is it usually independent decisions of the youth or the young people, or something pushes them into these new or into this lifestyle? Dr. Albert Sedo here is a psychiatrist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Doc, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Where would you situate this problem? I mean, maybe a decade or so ago, hardly did we even know about Red 225 or opioid abuse. But this time around, it has become quite regular. Almost every street corner, there are people who are abusing it. How did we get here, and what will your diagnosis be?
All right, so you said about 10 years ago it wasn't there. It's been there for some time, but the name wasn't Red, but the name was Tramadol and other brand names. Just that the names have been changed over the period. So the evil businessmen behind this choose to be innovative. When they realize the law enforcement agencies are catching up onto them, they choose to innovate and change the names of the product so that people, the law enforcement agencies cannot, they try to be ahead of them almost all the time. So it's been there for about 20, 30 years. Just that these days it's become more. And what initiates a lot of people into this mostly is peer influence. Peer influence is what gets a lot of the youth into using this high-dose tramadol that is not approved by FDA in Ghana. Now, tramadol is a painkiller that is used for moderate to severe pain, supposed to be prescribed by the doctor, to be bought in a pharmacy shop. But these Red 225 and the other ones that are in the system like Tafrodol, Tamakin, and the rest, these are not sold in a pharmacy shop. These are sold in the ghettos by lots of people on the streets who are parading as selling phone cases and other things that you may not even suspect them to be selling these things. So it starts with peer influence. And what makes them continue using is not because they like using it. Like the lady in the video, she got into it and now she wished she had not, started it in the first place. When they start using it and they continue using it initially because of the euphoria. And most of these young guys that you see using it, most of them are into manual labor work. And they use these opioids because initially it helps them to work harder, longer. And some few of them say it boosts their sexual performance. And that is just temporarily. After some time, the side effect overwhelms you. So it gets to a point where you use it impulsively without thinking about the consequences. Then, as you continue using, when you decide to reduce the dose or stop suddenly, you begin to suffer the withdrawal effect. Now, the withdrawal effect is what keeps a lot of them continue using it, and that becomes the compulsive phase of use. Now, the withdrawal effect is not something to joke about. It's quite very severe. For anyone who has experienced nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, joint pain, headache, irritability, anger, before, multiply this by 10. And all these things are happening in one person at the same time. So these are the withdrawal effects that they try to avoid that keeps them continually using it. Because the reason for starting using may be to help them work harder. But after some time, they become slow. They have slurry speech. They can't function well. But they still keep using it. They spend a lot of money on this. But they still continue using it. Not because they enjoy it anymore. But because if they stop suddenly or reduce the dose, they'll have the withdrawal effect. Now, that is because...
Help us understand. Sorry for cutting in, but help us understand. Are there clear ways people can get out of this? What would the immediate solutions be? If you can suggest some for us, and whether or not even we have state institutions that can be of support to people who are willing but are struggling to pull out of being addicted to these.
Yes, there are ways to come out of this. Just that on an individual level, it's quite expensive, but there are ways to come out of it. So there are two phases of that. The first phase is detoxification. Of course, you have to realize there's a problem, or somebody close to you realizes there's a problem and appeals to you to go seek help together. So you have to be admitted at a hospital. Most cases, you have to be admitted at a hospital to go through a process called detoxification, where we help you with medication-assisted treatment. What I mean by that is we will give you medications to ease the burden of the withdrawal effect. Because when you're in the hospital, you won't be taking the opioids or any form of it. So we're going to give you medication to ease the burden of the nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, agitation, everything. We're going to give you medication to ease that burden for about 5 to 7 days, sometimes up to 10 days, based on the severity of the condition.
Right.
From there, you have to go to the rehab. And mostly for opioids specifically, residential rehab is what is preferred because opioids have a very high addictive potential. And it's quite extremely very difficult to just stop or get off on your own. Now, in the country, there are limited facilities. As in the southern sector, the best in Ghana here is the Pantan Drug Rehab.
Okay.
But, Pantan Rehab is poorly resourced. Pantan Rehab is poorly resourced. It has the structures in place and the staffing are available, but it is poorly resourced, so it's not able to take the numbers, the huge numbers that are coming in. We have one at Accra Psychiatric Hospital as well, but at Kolebu, we have the outpatient basis of the rehab. That's the OPD rehab. But again, that is also a little resourced. So, but there are few and limited avenues for that.
Okay, Doc, pleasure talking to you. I mean, clearly, like you indicated, this is a running issue. So we'll definitely keep the conversation going as we all profile and seek solution to help our brothers and sisters who've been unfortunately hooked on red. Thank you very much. Dr. Albert Aseidu here is a psychiatrist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. You're still watching Ghana Tonight on TV3. We are also live on 3FM 92.7. When we return, we ask the big question. How is it that Ramsar sites, which are supposed to be protected lands, have been taken over by some individuals, filled and built? They've built on these structures, and now we're told that the structures are being demolished. But is that the solution to the fact that Ramsar sites have been taken over by some individuals? Engineer Mahama will join us for that conversation in a jiffy. Stay with us. This is Ghana Tonight. Welcome back to Ghana Tonight. Let's go straight into our next subject, which has to do with the fact that over the week, we saw very sad images of people crying that their properties were being demolished on Ramsar sites, specifically around the Sakumo Ramsar site in Accra. And this was carried out by a joint operation from the Tema West Municipal Assembly. The Greater Accra Regional Minister was there leading the Regional Security Council and National Security Operatives. Plus, NADMO officials were all there to ensure that they demolished the structures that had been mounted on Ramsar sites. First of all, those sites were filled very high up with laterite, and then the buildings were put on them. But how did we sit down as a country to watch all of this unfold right before our very eyes? Let's bring in a civil engineer, Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, who's joined us for a quick chat on this. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Are you surprised that it is taking this long for us to decide to demolish? And look at the height of some of these structures, almost completed buildings.
Well, I say good evening to your cherished viewers. I'm not surprised because we are having a lot of recalcitrant developments scattered across the country, and the Ramsar site is not an exception. So it's really important that the officialdom sustain the activity that they have started now. It looks like Ghanaians are beginning to have the idea that when government starts the demolition works, some way, somehow, they bring it to an abrupt end because of the pressure that will be coming from sometimes within the party or sometimes within the capital or across the country. I think that if we continue to use human face, we will not make any end in terms of solutions to the problem that we are facing in the country. We need to get every house out of the Ramsar site. Government has, in fact, the president has given support to the minister, so the minister should not leave any stone unturned, but address the issue from the beginning to the end. I don't have any pity for anybody who had decided on his or her own to move into the Ramsar site and continue with the construction. Last 2 years, the regional minister, Isaac, something like that, somewhere along the line, he stopped. And people went into putting up buildings sprinkling like mushrooms. And so we don't have to stop. If we understand the benefit of the Ramsar site, aside accommodating or being able to accommodate millions of liters of water that inundates part of Greater Accra, there are other benefits. In fact, Ramsar sites are known to have the biggest absorption of carbon dioxide, better than trees, and they give out oxygen. So we shouldn't look at anything. Whoever decides to reap, I think it's a pity to see people go through what they are going through. But I'm saying nobody compelled them to start buildings in those areas, and you can scout across the numbers. We may not have about even 2% of those buildings there being issued with permit, because I do not know which assembly would boldly issue permit to these people. And you see, there are 3 documents that can take these people to the cleanest. I'm not too sure that even when the buildings are demolished and the excavators are used to actually remove the laterites and boulders that have actually been occupied the space, or you let it go, like anybody who comes approaching government, who has a facility there, edifice there, must be put to the law courts, because there are laws that are supposed to govern so that the environment will be protected. The Local Governance Act 2016 at 936, the Land Use and Special Plan Act at 2016 at 925, and then the National Building Regulation LI 2465, which was passed in 2022. These are beautiful laws that when you are supposed to go and get a permit for a construction, 113 will tell you that if you're in a district, you have to apply with your document. And then if you decide not to go by the laws, the 121 tells that the assembly, in this case, the joint assembly, may without notification to the developer carry out instant prohibition, abatement, alteration, or demolition of a structure if that structure is constituting a nuisance to the environment. And this is a nuisance to the environment because you and I, one let's say 1,000 persons have decided to go and put up buildings there, and over 10,000 people are going to suffer because of what is happening on the Ramsey side. You have actually reduced the capacity of the Ramsey side, because if the capacity is actually enhanced, we'll have a lot of water sitting there, and it will be beneficial to the whole country. So I am applauding the Minister for Greater Accra Region, by extension the President of the Republic of Ghana, for what they are trying to do to help Mother Ghana, especially in the Greater Accra Region. Right, and maybe finally and briefly, so what else beyond the demolition? Because it looks as though as a low-lying area that has to be filled with laterite before the buildings themselves, we're only seeing buildings being demolished. How do we proceed? Can we actually get back those Ramsey sites? Well, we can get back the Ramsey site. First and foremost, without the demolition of the houses, you cannot do the removal of the material that's actually been placed to stabilize the ground. So first and foremost, the buildings must go. And when the buildings are no more there, maybe government may have to involve and get some money from the Ministry of Finance. If we're not able to surcharge those persons who have actually undermined the performance of the Ramsey site, we have to get government to allocate a certain percentage of funds to be able to remove all those laterite. Man, you see, if you quantify the cost of removal of those laterite as against the disaster or the devastation that will be confronted if we encounter a lot of floods inundating the environment, I think we'll go with the first one, where government may allocate some money and actually remove all this material and reuse the material for other things, other construction activities in the country. Okay. We have to, at least for once, do an activity from the beginning to the end. And when we do that, it's only the country who are going to benefit at the end of the day. Engineer Abdullahi Mahama, pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time, that you made time to speak to us on Ghana Tonight. So, well, clearly, it comes to you as an information that the activities being undertaken right now by the government to clear water structures on waterways, first of all, and then also the fact that Ramsey sites that have been occupied are also being cleared, looks as though it is getting support from not just government, but within the citizenry. People are supporting it because we are looking at the greater good, not the good of just a few or the benefit of a few. And on the back of that, we want to say a big thank you to all of you who made time to watch Ghana Tonight. And do make a day tomorrow in the morning. All the big issues that have happened over the week, we are going to have expert panel join us to dissect them very well. On your screens, you can see them. Martin Aseidu is making an appearance. Professor Ransford Jampo would also be coming. We have our 3 or 4 lawyers all making an appearance, and you want to be part of the discussion. Key issues to be discussed. They're talking about the Supreme Court dismissal of the Chief Justice's injunction application. Also, they will discuss the detention and now Chairman Wontumi's ability by his lawyers to meet the bail conditions and their aftermath. And then also the Ramsey side conversation will continue on key points. It's on Saturday, 7 a.m. here on TV3. Do join the team and be part of the conversation. That's it from all of us. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the Friday night. I am Martin Aseidu Dartey. Shalom.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.